Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. We are going to pick up right where we left off yesterday. It's Thursday morning here in rainy Los Angeles, California, and we've got some beef going down. That's right. You can see here, Nick blames Sean Lowe. There's actually a clip that we have that he said, F Sean Lowe. And it has been deleted off of his podcast. We're going to analyze that. We've got the footage, folks. We've got the footage, and we're going to check it out right now. Of course, this is in reference to Zach's, his effort, effort for Zach trying to not have sex in the fantasy suite. He tried so hard. He made it through Ariel's fantasy suite, no sex. And then, of course, let it loose that he hooked up with Gabby. And, of course, she's upset. She feels like her trust is violated. We're going to get all of the conclusions to this mess this coming episode, the finale. But in the meantime, let's check out what Nick has to say. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals, patreon.com/Dave Neal for behind-the-scenes bonus content. I'll be live on the 10 a.m. hour today, and also Bachelor Rush Hour, the afternoon podcast. We've got some unique and interesting tea to share on Bachelor Rush Hour podcast. You'll know it when you listen to it this afternoon. Only available there. Link in the comment section below. Okay, so let's play the clip, and then I'm going to share the version that includes the bleeped out moment that for whatever reason was deleted, which, to be honest, I was surprised that they deleted this one part because the other part's just as bad. Or not bad, but it's controversial because Nick, of course, former lead, and Sean Lowe, former lead. Nick does the sort of cross sign. He says, oh, his holier than thou thing. Will it piss off the Christians? I don't know. A lot does, but here we go.
Be like, well, I gotta show them what this is all about.
Fuck for my life.
Fuck for my life.
Whoa.
Literally.
Or would you not?
The kids.
Like, what would you do?
I'd be like, don't touch me. I think I'd be like, absolutely not.
You would.
There's the couch.
So this is the conversation in reference to what would you do if you found out that Zach just hooked up with Gabby?
Say don't. But like, this is.
I don't think I would take it off the table. Because okay, so if we're fucking,
Would
it
you
better
still
be
get
good.
engaged in 2 days?
Maybe.
But you'd make him sleep on the couch?
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, I don't know why he told.
Yeah. I don't think I would.
It's the
I
producer's
definitely
problem.
wouldn't be
That's
able to
crazy.
be physical with
Yeah.
him. I feel like that would be off the table for sure. Like, just for how I work, like, I don't know. If I'm starting a relationship,
Mhm.
if I were just having fun, it would be different. But if I'm trying to start an intimate, emotional relationship with somebody and you just were physically intimate with somebody else, it doesn't make sense in my brain. I wouldn't be able to do it. But obviously, Clayton and I worked out and with us, but it took time to work through that
Did you
and
work
to
out?
heal from like some of the pain that comes from that. So I think that she probably can move forward and she can be okay. But I mean, when it comes to the physical stuff, I'd be like, oh, hell no, we're not
Yeah.
doing that.
Okay.
All right, so hang on. We're going to get to that moment. We had to ramp up into this moment here. We had to build some momentum for the scene that involves the roast of Sean Lowe.
I always say, don't ask questions you don't want the answers to.
But she didn't ask.
She
He
didn't
told.
ask. And he just
That's true.
no, that's like in my head, like, I'm not going to ask the question because I don't want it to know.
Yeah.
I don't
He
want to
really
even think about it.
bulldozed through that confession, too,
Yeah.
with Katie. He's like, so listen, anyways, so I said I wasn't going to have sex. And
I
then
kind of disagreed. I mean, I felt like they made it. I mean, I felt like it probably was a long thing. I was like, get out of the water. They were in the mangroves in Thailand. I was like, you're going to get leeches on your tongue.
I did.
It's like you're telling on yourself. Stop. And
Yeah.
I think it was admirable to be like, okay, he is erring on the side
Oh,
of
he's a
like
good dude.
looking like an idiot.
Yeah.
And just looking kind of like awkward and like, because it's weird to like talk about this stuff open.
I'm telling you, it's all Sean Lowe's fault. It's all Sean Lowe's fault.
Unrealistic expectations
Yeah.
from Sean Lowe.
They had Sean Lowe, like the only bachelor who's ever like had a success story, come in how many fucking times this season,
At
and
least
just
3.
like pour his like way of life onto Zach, as if like you have to be holier than thou or don't have
Yikes.
sex or whatever, and it's just like trying to follow the Sean Lowe narrative, and here we are,
Here we are.
I was going to ask, was Sean
Trying to follow the Sean Lowe narrative, and here we are. Okay, so I'm going to share with you guys the part that was deleted. So let's listen one more time to this, and
Three.
then I'll
And just
pause
like-
it right where it is.
like pour his like
No. Or just like looking kind of like awkward and like, cause it's weird to like talk about this stuff open.
I'm telling you, it's all Sean Lowe's fault. It's all Sean Lowe's fault.
Unrealistic expectations.
It's all Sean Lowe's fault. It's all Sean Lowe's fault. Unrealistic expectations. So this is what Bachelor Rabbit Hole had posted.
This episode, this is all Sean Lowe's fault. Sean fucked over Zach.
Oh.
This episode, this is all Sean Lowe's fault. Sean fucked over Zach.
Okay, so that's the original, and then we have this.
Yeah.
And just like looking kind of like awkward and like, cause it's weird to like talk about this stuff open.
I'm telling you, it's all Sean Lowe's fault. It's all Sean Lowe's fault.
Unrealistic expectations from Sean Lowe.
Interesting. One more time.
This episode, this is all Sean Lowe's fault. Sean fucked over Zach.
So we didn't see any edits there, right? So I'm not trying to misinterpret this, but was this part deleted?
This episode, this is all Sean Lowe's fault. Sean fucked over Zach.
Anyway, so we could go all day long. So Sean effed over Zach. I don't know why they would have deleted that from the final, because it's not like he was polite with the other things he was saying. And look, Nick, share your point of view. Absolutely. Now, the question we're all asking is, did Zach not have sex because of some purity culture thing where he was trying to live up to some ideology, or did he not want to have sex? Did he not want to have sex because he knew how this would play out if he did have sex, which of course is his worst nightmare happening right now. So I kind of reject that it's necessary. I mean, is it Sean's fault that he tried to play up to the one person who had success? I don't know if that's Sean's fault. If Sean's proven to be the only bachelor, I believe, right, who's still with their final person that they proposed to. Matt James is still with theirs, and of course Matt James also had a promise to not have sex in the fantasy suites.
Just like trying to follow the Sean Lowe narrative, and here we are.
Here we are.
I was going to ask, was Sean's decision, that was like a religious or like a moral thing, which would be very different, right?
I mean, it was like he was the virgin bachelor, then you found out it was born again. He wasn't really a virgin, but he stopped having sex. And then I've heard that he might have had sex with the other women in the fantasy suite. Like, he also rounded a couple bases.
Yikes. Yikes. This gets into the same territory that, and again, I don't know, I could be mistaken, leave a comment, but we've literally been very critical of Zach for announcing that he had sex with Gabby because he violated her trust. And now we have Nick, I guess, and let me know if I'm wrong here, because maybe Sean already talked about it, but Nick saying, hey, he rounded a bunch of bases, so get off your high horse. Get off your moral lifeguard stand here, which, again, I appreciate when people call out those that are pretty hypocritical. Dude, you're not even a virgin. You're a born again virgin. What's the big deal? I don't know. I don't believe Sean's season was marketed as him being the virgin bachelor. That was Colton Underwood. We know how that played out.
Like, it was all.
I was thinking about that as well. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
So technicalities.
Yeah.
So Susie calls them technicalities. No, they're called blowjobs. Okay.
But yeah, he tells the world,
And some people believe, due to their religious upbringing, that once you penetrate, it counts as sex, but all the other things don't. And how does that end up for you? Just a couple of horny people dry humping in jeans. How does that feel?
And Zach. So it's all Sean's fault.
I have a question.
So there it is, folks. It's all Sean's fault. Let me know what you guys think about this. I mean, I find it interesting. I'm kind of like the younger brother here trying to stir up drama, but pretty aggressive words from Nick here, but also not exactly lying either. So he believes that it's Sean's fault that Zach tried to live up to somebody else's ideologies, and it blew up in his face.
This might come off terrible. Has anyone ever had their period during
That's an amazing point.
fantasy suites?
Probably.
Like just waiting for this huge moment.
Probably.
Yeah.
And if so, they all did because they've been living together. So they're synced up.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
it's true.
So they say, and again, I've always wondered this, is it true that periods sync up when they're all together? Because if so, it's like having your own Wi-Fi system in your crotch, or your ovaries. And it's like, well, do you have the password to the Wi-Fi? Yeah, here it is. And then you all, I don't know, ovulate together. Now, of course, I don't know anything about what I'm talking about, which makes it so funny when I, try to talk about the female anatomy. People go, "Oh, Dave, you're so funny, you idiot." And I'm like, "No, trust me, I don't know what I'm talking about." But we have Google. If the menstrual cycle is 28 days long, and then 14 days apart would be maximal asynchrony. By chance alone, one would expect two women to be 7 days apart, half of 14 days. Given that, what does that mean? I don't know. Given that menstruation can last 5 days, menstruation can last 5 days. Overlapping periods are a common occurrence. That women synchronize to each other, however, is a myth. So there it is, folks. We've got a myth debunked here on Bachelor Nation News. Women's periods do not synchronize when living together. Doesn't matter for this video, not one bit. Some of the comments were interesting. Actually, I already lost the comments. Where did they go? Someone said, "How crazy. So Zach has no free will. Advice is just that. Advice. Take it or leave it. Sean did not make a cluster of his overnights. So no, it is totally Zach's fault. His immaturity, his kiss and tell personality, with zero regard for the hurt and damage he is causing. Zach is not to be trusted." And then someone else said, "This is why they didn't sign him up to be host." Wow, some rough comments there on the Bachelor Rabbit. I think Nick, like I say all the time, the guy's crushing it. Look at his subscribers. He's almost at 90,000 subscribers on YouTube. He absolutely shattered me. Wave the white flag. You guys have to keep subscribing. We're not even at 70,000 yet. I think part of it is he's been covering some very big Netflix stories. And again, I'm not making any excuses. He's done a good job with his team. But I've been defeated, folks. I have been defeated. Let me know what you guys think. And on the other side of things with Sean Lowe, people are asking, like, did he bring God into his story as heavily as Nick wants to believe? And the answer is, not in a way where he was jamming it down people's throats. I think that's the problem people have, is when they feel like someone else's ideologies are jammed down their throats. And when that doesn't happen, it's like, I'm all for using faith. I think whether God is real or not, and again, just like everyone, I have my beliefs that none of us can prove. You hope that there is a greater thing out there. You hope that there is a heaven, a higher spiritual connection that we all have. But anyone who says they know for sure is blind. It's blind faith. That's what faith is all about. So the question was, Sean, were you ever scared that she wouldn't come around to having her own faith in God like you do? Her being Catherine, his wife. He said, "No, I wasn't fearful. I just had peace about the whole thing. Being a believer, I know that I need to be equally yoked to the person I'm going to be married to. So it's kind of tricky when I'm giving my testimony. I wouldn't encourage others, kids, to take such a big life-altering leap with someone." Oh, he says, don't do that. But the best way I can explain it is that God gave me peace, and I knew he was working in her heart. And it wasn't soon after the proposal that she gave her life to Christ. I think some people just have, some people like to frame like God did this as a way of separating themselves from the decision-making. And it's like, and again, like I've said before, I believe that God, if is a piece of all of us that connects us all, whether we believe or not. I think we're all connected through some sort of vicarious anchor. And to me, it's not like God did this. It's like a piece of my spirit. The light within me is a part. That's just how I believe. Catherine's response: "Most girls were Christian on the show, and I knew if he didn't choose me solely on that fact, that I would never become a Christian, because that didn't seem fair to me. I gave him all the credit to have prayed and making sure it was right with Christ to have pursued me in that way. I'm just so grateful, because again, I could have turned completely away if he had said no only because I wasn't a Christian." The other question, Catherine, what was the process of discovering who God is like for you? Right after the show ended, my friend picked me up from the airport. We started going to church and Bible studies every week together. Sean knew that I was working on my faith and trying to understand after 26 years of not knowing God. Okay, so look, here's the deal. I'm happy for people that use whatever tools they need to use to navigate this very complicated life we live. And that's not to negate anybody who's got a faith-based religion, not whatsoever. Although It is. Sean and Catherine are an interesting story for, this idea of like, I'm praying for somebody else. That to me gets into like the missionary world. Like I'm saving somebody else. I don't know but that's that. We use certain words to try to describe a very complicated thing, which is, can a relationship work if they're not on the same faith page? I guess so, but it could also not work. Either way, Nick blaming Sean Lowe, by far the most fascinating part of the story. Let me know what you guys think. You got the deleted scene right here. All right, we'll be back with more content. Patreon.com/Dave Neal is up next at 10 a.m. Private live stream there. Bachelor Rush Hour, the afternoon podcast. Link in the comment section to go listen to that.